Hello, my name is Naive Libertarian Politics, and today I'm here to discuss the states of Florida and Texas and why I think they do it right when most other states do it wrong. So let's get straight into it. So first, I have the a CNN article over the Texas voting laws, which are being pushed in the Texas legislature. So here's basically the main stuff that is inside of it. So first thing, we have ban after hours voting. I'm not generally opposed to that because after hours voting usually means after the polls are closed, and I mean, polls have closing times for a reason. It's a little bit of a wacky concept. Um, Prohibit ballot drop boxes and drive-through voting centers. Um, this is generally not the best thing, but I think it's generally outweighed by the other things that are in here. But it's not the worst thing. I mean, there's definitely some ability to be fraudulent with ballot drop boxes, and it's something that you might want to look at. But I think generally it was not the best idea to get rid of it. But I think generally this bill is a good thing. So then we mandate all weekly early vote intake place sometime between 6 a.m. and 9 p.m. Though draft language. So basically, this says that uh, all early voting must take place sometimes between 6 a.m. and 9 p.m. Though on Sunday 1 p.m. through 9 p.m. This is generally nothing wrong with this. I can see why Sunday church does not. Church usually runs until 12 p.m. for many people, and Texas is a fairly conservative state, and then church is on Sunday, so I can see that. And there's nothing really that wrong with that part of it. Make it illegal for election officials to send applications to vote by mail to people who do not request one. This is generally fair. I think it's definitely a way of accountability. I think it's a new way to hold these people accountable when they very much need to be held accountable for what they do. And it really is a fight against fraudulence, which we need in the current day. Bar counties from helping facilitate the distribution of unsolicited ballot requests. I would say this is generally a good thing. Um, I mean, things like this, we need getting rid of this would help push push against fraud, which is definitely something we need to be talking about and discussing and trying to get rid of. Next thing, require voters requesting absentee ballots to provide their driver's license number or social security number on both their request for a ballot and their return envelope containing their ballot. I think this is generally a good idea. I think we need to be very accountable and we need to keep track of everything that is going on with absentee ballots. They are they're very easy to be faked. You could say, I don't want to sound too much like conspiracy theorist, but it's generally a good idea to look into this and try to guarantee that what we do in elections will be completely safe. Next thing is impose 1,000 a day fines on local election officials who do not follow prescribed procedures to update their voter rolls, and criminal penalties on election workers who obstruct poll watchers. This is generally one of the best parts of the bill. It's like it should be completely bipartisanly supported. I mean, if election officials do not, they should be updating their voter rolls, because if you do not update your voter rolls, then you can see these people who will come out and they will and they might put on someone who's dead or someone who doesn't want to vote or has not voted in years, and they could keep them on the voter roll, which it just is not good because it messes up many database type things, and it could make it easier to be fraudulent in elections. Not that I want to sound like a conspiracy theorist. Just to clarify, I do not condone any conspiracy theories. But and criminal penalties on election workers who obstruct poll watchers. This is one of the best parts of the bill, I would say. It should be bipartisanly supported. This part, election workers should not be obstructing poll watchers because that is an important part. We need people to be able to. We shouldn't just have election workers because election workers, they're usually government workers or so, at least they have some connection to the government. Even if they're volunteers, usually they will have some at least interest in the government, and that will usually create some form of a bias for some reason. And poll watchers, I mean that's just poll watchers are kind of the second line of defense. I think we should not have those people being obstructed. And here's the last part I want to talk about. The bill would also make it easier to overturn an election, allowing courts to throw out results if enough ballots were cast illegally that it could have made a difference. This should be supported by everybody. I mean, if a court found that results were cast illegally so much that a difference could be made, then there should be some way to throw this out and change it. And of course, this is CNN, so they said despite the fact that there is no evidence of widespread voter fraud in Texas, that does not matter. That does not matter because something can be rare, but we still need to have it be illegal. Like, maybe hitting people with a fish to death is rare, but it still would be murder, and it still should be punishable in the court of law. It's a little bit of an absurdity in my opinion. Yeah. So the next thing I want to talk about in Texas is their COVID restrictions. There are two things that we need to talk about. There are no COVID-19 related operating limits for any businesses or other establishments, and individuals are strongly encouraged to wear face masks when it is not when you can social distance, and from another person who's not in your house, who's not a member of your family. But no person can be required by any jurisdiction. And from what I understand, that any jurisdiction means political jurisdiction, but I don't. It's hard to know with a lot of ambiguous words in law. The final thing I want to talk about in Texas is their gun policy. Many of you probably heard about this. They will allow people to carry handguns in public without obtaining licenses or training, which I think is generally a good thing. I think it is part of your property rights to own a firearm. I think that's a generally libertarian view of it, but and it is a very gun owning state, so this would make sense. But I think having a gun is one's property right. And I mean just like having a car. I do not think you should be required to drive with just having a driver's license, but I think having a firearm, having a gun is your property right, so you should have the right to have it without having to have a license. Yeah. So next thing. Yeah, I think it's generally a good thing. So the next thing I want to talk about is the state of Florida. So I'm gonna jump straight to COVID here. Florida has very little COVID restrictions. Florida is one of the top. There are currently no travel restrictions in place, but they do want you to get vaccinated, which is something that I can understand why they would. It's very mainstream, and it's generally supported by everybody, at least most people, to get vaccinated, and they at least in their opinion, because I know there's a lot of buzz about the COVID vaccine and things like that, and theories, but the state government of Florida and people like that, because they're more mainstream, they would definitely want you to get vaccinated, but they are advising people to wear face masks and social distance, both indoors and outdoors, and to avoid closed spaces and crowded spaces, which I think is generally a good idea. And of course, they don't want you to travel if you were sick. I think that's just a general good idea. Yeah. This next thing is something that I'm not super proud of in Florida. They are not allowing any businesses to require vaccine passports. I generally think that this is a little bit of a infringement on the rights of businesses to do as they please, freedom of association. If any of people watching have heard of this, it is an important part of a free market, and I feel like it's a little bit of an infringement on free market, but I think generally DeSantis, who signed this, is a very good governor and one of the best, probably most likely the best governor in the country currently. Um, yeah. So what you need to take away from this video is that Texas and Florida both basically do this right, do everything right, and a lot of more states need to be, I guess, emulating them, especially some of the left-wing states, you could say. But yeah. And before I go any further, just to clarify, I do not condone any conspiracy theories or anything along those lines. Do not go out doing that. Do not go out espousing things that are not factually true. Do not spread misinformation within your community. That is something that, especially in these times, we do not need to be doing. In these unprecedented times of no of lack of general common sense, you could say, in the world where nobody truly knows anything, the last thing we need is espousing things that are not true. That goes for both sides. There are people on the right and people on the left who say things that are not true. But yeah. As always, this is all just my opinion. My name is Naive Libertarian Politics, so take everything I say with a grain of salt. So yeah, thanks for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.